Everyone's probably heard about Jamie Dimon's attack on MicroStrategy, but now that the dust is settling, new details are emerging about what this means for Bitcoin. So we're going to start the rabbit hole here, guys. We got a lot to cover. Of course, I'm not alone. Nico's here with me, but I have to take the reins on this one because, I'm the macro guy now, apparently. So here we go. This is where I believe the saga starts. So in a note last week, I believe it was on Friday, if I'm remembering correctly, JP Morgan highlighted, they did a note here, and they said that Saylor's Bitcoin vehicle is at risk of being removed from a major indices like MSCI USA and NASDAQ 100 under MSCI's proposal to exclude, quote, digital asset treasury names that are holding more than 50% of Bitcoin or crypto on their balance sheet. And then passive exposure in the name is almost $9 billion already. MCI alone could force up to roughly $2.8 billion of selling if they drop it before any other index providers follow. At the same time, of course, Bitcoin was getting wrecked in the price and strategies, MNAVs down. It's been, Nico keeps saying a bear market, but it's been a rough month, basically. I think in the last 45 days, Bitcoin's down like $45,000. So, hey, it's been a rough month. Anyways, Bloomberg says a decision will be due January 15th, 2026. Now, for everyone probably like myself, you really didn't even know what MSCI is. So MSCI, and here's just like a break, a little blurb. It's a leading global provider of equity, fixed income, real estate indices, multi-asset portfolio analysis tools, and ESG and climate finance product. It offers critical decision support tools and data for the investment community to analyze risk, return, and build effective portfolios. And obviously, they're using these guidelines to essentially, analyze whether they can, put your fund into risky assets, risky portfolios, kind of what the risk tolerance is here. Now, the interesting part about this, there's actually a few interesting things going on. I was going to save this for a little later, but it looked like at the same time that JP Morgan announced this last Friday, they also dumped about 25% of their MSTR positions right before the announcement. And so everyone is like, there's something going on here. Is this an orchestrated attack against strategy? Is this a general kind of price manipulation attack on Bitcoin? Like, what is going on? And this is where the rabbit hole gets a little tricky, because it turns out that this announcement was actually made on October 10th. And remember what happened on October 10th. That's when we had the biggest liquidation, I think it was in history. That's when we got that huge dump in Bitcoin. So everyone is now on this view. Is like, is JP Morgan manipulating the price of Bitcoin? Are they trying to suppress the price of Bitcoin? Or is this just a general attack on strategy, which really got everyone talking on Twitter over the weekend? But before we get into kind of what everyone said on Twitter, we got some good articles here. Let's see what Michael Saylor said directly responding to this. And he goes, oh, yeah, I got you. And he goes, response to MSCI index matter. Strategy is not a fund, not a trust, and not a holding company. We're a publicly traded operating company with a $500 million software business and a unique treasury strategy that uses Bitcoin as productive capital. This year alone, we've completed 5 public offerings of digital credit securities, STRK, STRF, STRD, STRC, and STRE, representing over $7.7 billion in notional value. We also launched Stretch, a revolutionary Bitcoin-backed treasury credit instrument that provides variable monthly USD yield to institutions and retail investors. Funds and trusts passively hold assets. Holding companies sit on investments. We create, structure, issue, and operate. Our team is building a new kind of enterprise, a Bitcoin-backed structured finance company with the ability to innovate in both capital markets and software. No passive vehicle or holding company could do what we're doing. Index classification doesn't define us. Our strategy is long-term. Our conviction in Bitcoin is unwavering, and our mission remains unchanged to build the world's first digital monetary institution on a foundation of sound money and financial innovation. And then also over the weekend, actually yesterday, followed this up with just a simple "I won't back down" tweet, which really is getting everyone thinking, is JP Morgan attacking Saylor and strategy personally, or is this a bigger attack on Bitcoin in general? Which is where an article went absolutely viral over the weekend. It blew up. Now, I'm not going to read the whole article for you guys, but I highly recommend you read it. I think it's a really good framework for what's going on. It does kind of say some things that I've been saying, but again, it opened up a whole new can of worms, and then people are discussing this even further and being like, is this actually what's happening, or is there another take? Anyways, this is titled Trump's Gambit, the Quiet War Between the White House and JP Morgan, which, again, I'm going to just summarize it really quickly just to kind of, set the table here. I would highly recommend you read it. It's probably like a 5-10 minute read. Really good. It is a little AI. He acknowledges that it is AI written because he's not a writer, but it's written really well. Anyways, the kind of short of it is essentially what this article is saying is that the old guard, JP Morgan, of course, if you're unaware, JP Morgan is one of the 12 banks that essentially owns the Federal Reserve. And we've been seeing all year, we've been cataloging this saga all year long, that there seems to be a battle from the Trump administration, aka the US Treasury, and the Fed. We've all seen Trump attack Jay Powell. It's been like one of the biggest kind of stories going on right now is like, Jay Powell needs to cut the rates, too late Powell, et cetera, just kind of dragging him in the public circus. So the idea is JP Morgan, as part of the old guard, as part of the Federal Reserve kind of camp, is in a war right now with the Treasury, with the Trump administration. There's this old guard kind of maintain the status quo, make sure that the Fed is still in control of the money printer. And then there's this new guard, which is led by Scott Bessent and the Treasury. And the new guard is embracing stable coins and Bitcoin. And so the battleground, the short of this article is the battleground is being played out on Bitcoin. JP Morgan is essentially trying to suppress the Bitcoin price. They're trying to nuke the bull market, destroy strategy, because it essentially is vying for competition in this whole new revolutionary monetary regime that we're in. And then, of course, the Treasury is going to embrace Bitcoin. So we have on one side, JP Morgan's trying to tank the Bitcoin price, and that could be what's going on right now. The price it's supposed to be a bull run. The price didn't do anything. And then on the flip side, if the Treasury is actually doing what we think they're going to do, what they've been saying, which is accumulate Bitcoin, it's one of these things where, yeah, publicly they're kind of getting beat up. But if they are acquiring Bitcoin, then they're just getting cheap sats on the low, which is what I've been telling you guys the last couple of days. It's like, don't focus on the noise. Focus on what they do. It's not what they say, it's what they do. And from all indications, these institutions are acquiring Bitcoin. They're accumulating Bitcoin, and that's the move you should be doing. So again, the old guard led by the Fed and Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan versus the new guard.
Which, by the way, are owners of the Federal Reserve.
Exactly. Right? They're one of the 12 regional banks that own the Federal Reserve.
So they own the Federal Reserve. And again, the rabbit hole to this is extremely deep, ladies and gentlemen. Like, this could have been the culprit as to why we saw very low volatility in Bitcoin's price this year. We knew that there was going to be a giant embracement of we knew that it was going to be this giant embrace of Bitcoin by the Trump administration. And we knew that the previous old guard, to use Opti's terms, didn't feel very good about Bitcoin. In fact, they blatantly said it out loud. We don't like this. We don't like competition. We have a monopoly on money. We like our central bank digital currencies. That is the future of central banking. That is the future of money. Boom, the election happened. And then you had it swing all the other way, where you had a pro-Bitcoin candidate. And one of the first things that Trump did was take the Federal Reserve out of the regulatory aspect of Bitcoin and crypto. That was one of the first things the Trump administration did via executive order. Now you're starting to think, wow, a lot of things are starting to come together now. A lot of you're like, wow, this explains a lot, right? And it's really interesting because, you know, one of the things that we kept hearing from, you know, Jamie Dimon was basically like, look, Bitcoin is nothing but, you know, it's the crypto of choice for sex traffickers, money launderers, and ransomware. And we kept hearing that over and over and over and over again. Well, you know, one of the things that I've said on Simply Bitcoin many, many times, which is, you know, the iron law of central banker projection. I've said that so many times, and dude, is it a law? It like never breaks. Well, it's just been discovered that JP Morgan was covering up. I don't know if you could pull that up, Opti.
Yeah.
It's been discovered that JP Morgan was covering up for Epstein. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You couldn't write reality better even if you tried. So the thing that they accuse Bitcoin of, they are literally guilty of themselves. And I posted this. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was like, there's so much irony in this. It's hilarious, right? So I said, hold up. So Jeffrey Epstein's banker is trying to sabotage the Bitcoin industry and unbanked Bitcoiners, because not only did JP Morgan try to go after MicroStrategy, could potentially be the one responsible for the terrible price action we've seen this year, the shorting of MicroStrategy, trying to destroy it, because ultimately you have to understand, and this is what I love about the events that happened this weekend, it reminded us that we are part of a revolution. This is what you guys have to understand. And when Opti said the words old guard, they're on point. The old guard, the people that benefit from the Federal Reserve, do you think they're going to go gently into that good night? No, fundamentally, I said it wrong. I kept saying, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be your guide through the separation of money and state. But what we're coming to realize, it's not the separation of money and state. It's that these big banks and the state are intertwined. They're benefiting from each other. So again, the state provides the monopoly on violence, and the bankers provide the control and the monopoly over money. It's this symbiotic relationship. And the Trump administration comes in and he says, hey, let's try something new. Let's get stablecoin, not CBDCs. Let's get the stable coins in here. Let's get Bitcoin in here. Let's create a strategic Bitcoin reserve. To use Larry Fink's own words, let's try a non-sovereign alternative. No wonder Jay Powell has been dragging his feet, you know, on lowering rates. No wonder he's been doing that. We've been making the case for you guys all year that the Fed is purposely acting politically to hurt the Trump administration because of their stance on Bitcoin. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we just found the smoking gun. We found them. We found them dead to rights. Literally. This couldn't write itself better even if you tried. And to put the cherry on top, just to try to tell you guys what's at stake and, you know, how they're playing ball, right? Jack Mallers just got thrown out by his bank. You know who his bank is? JP Morgan. He says it was bizarre. My dad has been a private client there for 30 years. Every time I asked them why, they said the same thing. We aren't allowed to tell you. That is crazy. And think about, this is why we advocate for self-custody. This is why we advocate for the Bitcoin revolution so much. And we harp and we repeat ourselves and repeat ourselves. If you have to ask someone else permission to use your money, then it isn't your money. If your bank can just close your account and not even bother in explaining what the reasoning is, which we'll get to, what the official reasoning is behind this, That's not a very good system to remember. This is where you keep your money. This is how you pay your bills. This is how you feed your family. And they could just close your account for whatever reason. So anyways, here's Jack Mallers. This is a proud moment. I got it framed. So he got the note or the letter framed from Chase, JP Morgan, that basically explained to him or didn't explain to him why they closed his account. Now let's take a look at a lot of this stuff. After careful consideration, we have decided to close your accounts. We understand that this is disruptive and want to share more information with you about our responsibilities as a financial institution. During the course of ongoing monitoring, we identified concerning activity on your account or an account that you are associated with. Under the Bank Secrecy Act and other regulations, financial institutions have an obligation to periodically review our customer relationships. We are committed to regulatory compliance and ensuring the security and integrity of the financial system. Because of this commitment, we may not be able to open new accounts for you in the future. Did you hear the last part? We are committed to regulatory compliance and ensure the security and integrity of the financial system. Because of this commitment, we may not be able to open new accounts for you in the future. What does that mean? How is Jack Mallers a threat to the security and integrity of the financial system? Let me translate that for you if you still don't understand. What Jack Mallers is doing, what Bitcoiners are doing, what Bitcoin entrepreneurs are doing is a threat to the integrity of the central banking system. That's what it's a threat for. It's not a threat for the financial system and the well-being of all Americans. It's a threat to the well-being of politicians and central bankers that benefit from it and that unholy alliance. Now, they follow up with, here's what you need to know. Share this information with other listed on the accounts. Destroy all cards and checks associated with the accounts. Cancel all automatic deposits. Contact merchants that automatically bill or withdraw from your account and make other payment arrangements. You may receive additional account closing notifications if you have other account with us. Paolo Arduino, the CEO of Tether, says, I think it's for the best. And we'll get to that in just a second. Here's Bo Hines. Bo Hines worked with the Trump administration. He played a pivotal role in moving forward the strategic Bitcoin reserve. He now works at Tether. And he said, hey, Chase, you guys know Operation Choke Point 2.0 is over, right? Here is Senator Cynthia Lummis, the Bitcoin senator. And she says, Operation Choke Point 2.0 regrettably lives on. This is the case that Senator Lummis and Caitlin Long, the CEO and founder of Custodia Bank in Wyoming, they've been making this case all effing year. They've been making the case that Operation Choke Point 2.0 isn't over. You know what happened? And you know what tells me that we don't actually live in a representative democracy? Is that there was an election that happened in November of last year. And despite the electioning happening, despite the Republicans, which ran on a pro-Bitcoin platform, anti-CBDC platform, they made that very public. Despite them getting into power in all, look, they won the presidency, they won the Senate, and they won the House. Despite all of that, who is the Federal Reserve accountable to? Who do they answer to? If they're not a neutral institution, if they're inherently acting politically and maliciously, and they have no accountability, and there are no checks and balances, and the president can't even fire a Fed governor without going into an extended lawsuit, and they're the ones that control the levers of money, the control of money, the issuance of money, do we really live in a democracy? That's the question I have for you guys. Does that sound very democratic to you? What the F for point of what is the point of elections? What is the point of elections? Trump built a coalition of moderate Democrats, Republicans, and libertarians to win the previous election with the promise of ending Operation Choke 2.0. And a year into his presidency, he has not been able to get rid of the administrative state, which is powered by money printing, the central bank. And now the central bank is coming out and saying, hey, guess what, guys? We don't really like this Bitcoin thing, but they can't say it publicly. They can't say it overtly. They can't say it to your face, because if they say it to your face, then the whole facade falls down. If they say it to your face after a blowout of an election, then they're basically saying, we actually don't believe in democracy. And let me tell you guys something. That's coming out of their own words. You guys remember what Christine Lagarde was saying? She's like, I kind of don't like the democratic process. It's stopping us from rolling out these central bank digital currencies. They're having Freudian slips. They're showing you their cards. And make no mistake, JP Morgan plays an instrumental part in all of this. The stablecoin bill put the fear of God into these banks. Bitcoin is putting the fear of God into central banks. And remember, they hide under the illusionment of, hey, listen, we are an independent, neutral agency. We function within a democracy. But I always tell you guys, Bitcoin has a way of exposing incentives. And incentives are being exposed. And what I love about this bull / bear / I don't even know what the F we're in at this point, is that it's exposing incentives for everyone to see. We might have just found out why 2025 didn't go parabolic. We literally found out that JP Morgan, literally one of the largest banks in the world, who is part owner of the Federal Reserve, is purposely trying to go after MicroStrategy, simultaneously unbanking one of the largest, most well-known Bitcoin entrepreneurs, who also happens to be a co-founder and one of the largest Bitcoin treasury companies, which he co-founded with Tether, which is the largest stablecoin issuer in the on the face of the planet. So I'm sorry, reality, the irony here is hilarious. When Jamie Dimon was saying that Bitcoin was used for money laundering and sex trafficking and all these things, you know what he was doing? He was projecting of what it is they are guilty of themselves. He was doing that the entire effing time. And when Bitcoin started to become a threat, guess what? Oh, we'll unbank you. It seems like they didn't get the end of Operation Choke Point 2.0 memo. It seems like they're waiting for Trump. They're sabotaging the economy. And they're setting up the Republicans to lose the House in the midterms. And we couldn't see it. It was obfuscated. We couldn't figure it out. We couldn't find out. Well, now we know. Now we know. Now it's obvious. So, yeah, man, that's my bit on that. And again, it's not only me just saying that. Here's a clip of Mahler's himself.
In Bitcoin specifically, you had the JP Morgan CEO and chairman Jamie Dimon calling it essentially pet rock, and once again calling into question its worth and its value here. I would love to get your reaction, especially as some of the financial industry elites and figureheads are continuing to cast some doubt here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brad. What do I think about Jeffrey Epstein's banker being concerned that a distributed, decentralized, open public money could potentially be used for bad things, sitting on a ski resort in Davos? I don't really care. I don't know why anyone cares, right? I mean, that guy knows when money's used for bad things. So it's a weird opinion of his. And my pet rock was up, as you said, 160% last year. It performed well against the dollar. So I don't know. I don't really care what that guy has to say about Bitcoin. I don't know why anybody does.
Well, we know why they care. We know why they care. It's very obvious as to why they care. And they don't feel like playing by the rules anymore. The rules have gone by the wayside. And again, if you can say, oh, Nico, this is conspiratorial. Jack Mallers he went on TV. That was January 23rd of 2024, mind you. Okay. And we got the receipts. And by the way, the receipts are coming from, I think this is a Democratic senator, I believe, right?
Let me double check. Ron Wyden, U.S. Senator from Oregon. Yes.
Yeah, so he's a Democratic senator. So check this out.
And this screenshot's from the New York Times.
And this is New York Times, right? So bank officials for more than a decade were anxious about Epstein's prolific wire transfers and cash withdrawals. JP Morgan ultimately processed more than $1 billion in such transactions for him and warned senior management about his suspicious activities. But on at least 4 occasions over 5 years, the bank's leaders overrode those objections and continued to serve Epstein. So, excuse my French, ladies and gentlemen. When you call us Bitcoiners criminals, go. Oh, man. I really want to say it.
And here's the headline. I don't have this. I got the paywall here, but New York Times, how JP Morgan enabled the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein.
So, yes.
Kind of nuked.
You guys don't really have anything to stand on at this point. You guys don't really. I don't believe the moral I don't believe the excuse is a threat to the financial system, financial integrity, financial stability. Talking, shiitake about Bitcoin every opportunity he had, literally accusing Bitcoin of the things his banker was prolifically doing. His bank was prolifically doing, whether it was money laundering, the trafficking, like literally every single thing he accused Bitcoin of, JP Morgan literally enabled, right? Legally, with the protection of the state, right? So I don't know what to say at this point. Like, this is a clown show. These people are clowns. Like, I don't know what else to say. I really want to curse. Like, I really want to get this out.
Yeah, and I actually I want to add a few things. So first thing, this did kind of spark a lot of people on Twitter to now close their JP Morgan accounts. There's like a whole boycott JP Morgan right now. I've seen a lot of Bitcoiners essentially close their accounts recently. It's obviously just within our echo chamber, but if it goes further than that, then who knows what happens. And then I do want to kind of throw a wrench into this because I really like Simon Dixon's take on this. And even though we're making the case that, yes, it does seem like JP Morgan is attacking the Bitcoin industry, I think, as I said earlier, the broader conversation that this article and this whole topic sparked for everyone is trying to really pinpoint what is going on. Because as I was telling you guys last week, as we've been saying for weeks, everyone this year essentially got it wrong, and we couldn't really pinpoint where that came from. And since everyone's models were completely, out of whack, and we don't know what's going on with the price, and it does seem like the October 10th crash could have been orchestrated by JP Morgan. Maybe as the saying is, what is it, Nico? There's no coincidences.
There's no conspiracies.
Yeah, but there's no exactly. That's the one. Okay, so putting my tinfoil hat aside on that kind of view, the Simon Dixon take on this is a little similar. But
bro, what tinfoil hat?
No, I know. I'm just talking from like a normie perspective.
What normie perspective?
Like they probably looked at this and they're like, they're making this up, even though our sources are all literally from the official favorite publication.
There's no listen, dude. Like, this is like the equivalent of like, bro, we caught them dead to rights, dude. Like, this is, you couldn't find a bigger smoking gun if you tried, right? But this is like, this is guilty, man. Like,
hey, I'm on your side.
You know what the crazy part is, though? You know what the crazy part is that they arrested CZ, they arrested Arthur Hayes, they went after the Samurai Wallet developers, And there's a New York Times article that literally says that JP Morgan was covering up for certain types of traffickers. And they were doing that, and that came from bank leadership.
Love it. Love it. Okay, here's the Simon Dixon take, which is...
Come on now, bro.
Which I think the Simon Dixon take is literally yes and... again, this sparked a whole bunch of conversation on Twitter. Simon Dixon goes further. And this is no attack. You know, Simon Dixon's a Bitcoiner, longtime Bitcoiner. He worked at Wall Street. And this was his like, yes, but it's even worse than that kind of view. And so I'm not going to read the whole thing. Again, I highly recommend you guys go follow Simon Dixon. He does do some like, you know, hour-long monologues on these topics. But he goes, I keep getting tagged to comment on... Oh, sorry, guys. I keep getting tagged here. I keep getting tagged to comment on this article. Here's where I differ from the author. JP Morgan and the broader financial industrial complex are using their old vassalization tax to control MicroStrategy, and they will win because Saylor was already owned by Wall Street the moment he started accepting corporate debt and using public company as his vehicle. And again, he's not like taking shots at Saylor, basically saying, as I've been saying for a little while, that the attack we're seeing on Bitcoin is essentially giving up your private keys for these Wall Street products. And if you're in Wall Street, then you are part, as he likes to call it, the financial industrial complex. Again, I'm not going to read the whole thing. You guys should go read it. But here is where he really kind of aligns with what Nico and I usually say to you guys day in and day out, that Bitcoin in self-custody is the resistance. And not giving Wall Street more power by giving up your Bitcoin instead of actually buying Bitcoin, that is where the resistance is. You know, this is what it's all about, guys. Own more Bitcoin in self-custody this month than you had last month, and boycott all banks and Wall Street wrappers where you can. Enjoy watching the short-term manipulation. They can't manipulate this long-term. As long as you have your Bitcoin in self-custody, then you will survive whatever is going on. And so he kind of goes a little further. He's like, look, I don't think it's JP Morgan attacking Bitcoin. I think in general, it's Wall Street attacking self-custody Bitcoin. So this kind of sparked a whole different conversation on Twitter, but he basically agreed. He's like, yeah, the JP Morgan stuff is right, but it could possibly be even worse than that, guys. So this is why we keep telling you, I think the biggest attack right now is literally trying to incentivize you to give up your keys of your Bitcoin. But you're not going to do that because you hang out with us every day. You're taking self-custody of your Bitcoin. You're acquiring Bitcoin. You're doing exactly what these institutions are doing. You're buying daily, weekly, monthly, whatever works for you. You just got to continue to accumulate and continue to take that Bitcoin into self-custody. And all of this, you know, shenanigans will not affect you. So that was a long rip,
bro. I mean, dude, I'm flabbergasted. I don't know what to say at this point. Like, this is crazy because first of all, I feel alive again. You know, that's, I guess, the cherry on top here. Also appreciate the super chat from the Deep Stank. Please don't look into JP Morgan anymore. Sincerely, the auto pen. That's hilarious. But no, I mean, like, look, in all seriousness, like, you know, and I was holding, and Rustin, I want to issue you a sincere apology.
Wait, where's mine?
And Opti too, because, you know, this is stuff that like we figured out like months ago or years ago,
and you fought me on it forever.
But for the health of the channel and the survival of the channel, it's like, guys, Overton window, like, I get it. I believe you guys. I agree, but like, no, we cannot talk about this. Now it's confirmed. It's literally real. This is what they've been doing, which is nuts. Like, it's so crazy where we are in the movie. And, you know, I'm grateful. I'm grateful because, you know, like, I feel like this year we really lost the plot when it came to the mission. Like, this year we got really distracted. As a whole, the community got really distracted as a whole. Like, Wall Street came in, people got like very excited by Wall Street, and like people just like forgot that this thing that we have, which Simon Dixon pointed out, dude, we are in a revolution, bro. This is a revolution, ladies and gentlemen. This is a non-violent revolution of the people reclaiming back their financial sovereignty from the central banks and the big bank and the big banks. That is literally what it is about. And that is what's happening. And it's happening via Bitcoin and self-custody. And it's also happening with the propagation of stable coins all around the world. Right. And part of the Genius Act, it freaked out the big bankers. You have to understand this. And the reason it freaked out the big bankers is like, wait a second, like people are going to take cash withdrawals out of my bank when this starts, when this stuff starts to happen. Like, this is a problem. Like, this is dangerous. And one of the things that they made, they forced to put into the Stablecoin Act, you know, which really kind of begs the question, is that the stable coins couldn't offer interest. Because if they offered interest, then no one would use a bank anymore. And then my question is like, okay, fine. A bank pays you interest, but like, what's the rate? It's like 0.0. It's an insult at this point, right? Because like, think about it. Like, the bank has your money and then it uses that money and it lends it out to other people and it makes money off of your money. It makes money off of your bank deposit. Right?
Yeah, by design, that's the bank's business model.
That's
is lending your money out and you don't get the returns.
So with the stablecoin thing, it's kind of like, it kind of exposed the whole thing. So the bankers went to Congress and they said, okay, we would let the Genius Act pass, but these stablecoins can't offer interest. They're like, okay, that's fine. Then a lot of the big exchanges like Coinbase was like, hey, by the way, we're okay with, you know, we're not going to, the stable coins themselves won't offer interest, but what we're going to do is we're going to start offering rewards. And the banker's like, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. It exposes the scheme right now. Unless you have like a certain amount of money in your account, you get charged on a monthly basis. And they call it like a management fee. So they hold your money and then they charge you for holding your money, and then they make money off of your money. Oh, and by the way, if they disagree with you politically, they can close your account and hide behind the Bank Secrecy Act. While simultaneously, they are banking and hiding the transactions of pedos.
I can't believe you said that.
I could not make this up if I tried. I couldn't make this crazier.
Are we gonna make it?
I couldn't make this crazier even if I tried to make it crazier. Like, this is literally what happened. Like, we have all the receipts. You have United States senators from the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. You have a New York Times article. You have the debanking of Jack Mallers, right? Like, it's not, and then the shorting of MicroStrategy. Like, and then he was accusing of us of this all these years. Like, you couldn't have put more, you couldn't put this story together if you tried. You couldn't put it better together if you tried. Like, Rustin was right the entire time, all these years.
So was I. What a surprise.
Oh,
yeah,
my
honestly though, I'm not even gonna say it. I'm not gonna jinx it. Yeah, let's keep it moving.
Bro, I mean, this is hilarious, dude. It's super funny. It's super funny. All right, guys, it's gonna be a fantastic show. I'm turning red. Just because of,
well, it's also the AC is broken in here. It's so hot, guys.
Yeah, the AC is pretty hot. But anyways, guys, it's gonna be a fantastic show. We have tons to cover, but before we get to it, I do want to give a very special shout out, of course, to our lead sponsor, best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack, bitcoinwell.com. Buy real Bitcoin. Exchanges sell you Bitcoin IOUs. They hold your keys. At Bitcoin Well, they deliver you real Bitcoin to your private wallet, meaning it's a non-custodial Bitcoin exchange. And after the whole intro segment, you should, at this point, if you're not taking self-custody of your Bitcoin, you're on their side, okay? You're on their side. Take self-custody of your Bitcoin. Be part of the revolution. Use platforms that do that by default, like bitcoinwell.com. To get started, go to bitcoinwell.com/simply today. If you're a higher net worth individual, a family office, a trust, an organization, and you want to buy Bitcoin that goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address, you have to check out Bitcoin Well Infinite. To get started, go to bitcoinwell.com/OTC today. All right, everybody, it's going to be a fantastic show. We still have a ton of content for you guys. If you guys are enjoying today's show, smash that like button. Consider subscribing. Shout out to all of you guys watching on YouTube, Rumble, X, and the audio platforms. We're going to be right back in just a little bit. I want to give a shout out to our partner, StampSeed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed phrases really secure? StampSeed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need for you to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates. Instead of just writing them down on paper, paper is fragile. Titanium plates are strong. Your words are actually stamped into the titanium plate with this hammer and these letter stamping tools. Once the words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. And now you can customize your titanium seed plates. You can upload your design or logo and they will laser engrave it on the back of your seed plate, the opposite side of where the words are. Stamp your seed on StampSeed and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store. All right, everybody, we are back. Guys, scan the QR code on your screen. If you guys want to help support the show, the number one thing you could do to help support us is check out our partners. That's how we stay on air, of course. So check out Bitcoin Well, check out StampSeed, go to stampseed.com today, use promo code SIMPLY. Talking about self-custody, you want to stamp your seed phrase into titanium. Check out their 12-word seed kit. Just dropped. Of course, it's made of titanium, one of the strongest metals on planet Earth. Go to stampseed.com today. Use promo code SIMPLY to get a discount. Anyways, at the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $88,280. Block height, 925,028. Market cap, 1.76 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 6.09%. Decline from all-time high, negative 30%. So if you're buying Bitcoin right now, you're getting it at a 30% discount. Anyways, I want to play you guys this video of Chad Saylor. I stand with Saylor, man. I stand with Saylor. I stand with Saylor. I stand with Saylor. I stand with Saylor, man.
I stand with my sats.
Yes, but I stand with Saylor. I'm on Saylor's side. But anyways, so Saylor is talking about this idea of how to 10x your money, not financial advice, but I think his logic and his reasoning is extremely sound. So let's check out the clip, and then, of course, we'll talk about it. Here we go.
The best idea, if you want to make 10x your money, is you buy something that everybody in the world needs, nobody in the world can stop, and almost nobody understands.
Perfect.
Okay, so in 2010, that was Amazon, or that was Apple, or that was Facebook or Google. These are all dominant digital networks that everybody in the world needed that nobody could stop. But if you'd ask the typical mainstream investor, is this a good investment? They would all say, oh, it's very scary, it's overvalued, Amazon doesn't make money, mobile phones used to cost $50. You know, it's like Apple's going to sell an iPhone for $600. They said it's too expensive. The iPhone $600 is too expensive. Nokia will sell me one for $30. They said Apple's going to go to $30. And of course, what happened is Apple went to $1,500.
Yes.
And so the conventional wisdom was against these big tech companies.
So, I mean, lots of wide shot, please. Lots of, you know, I would say the conventional wisdom here is this, guys. Like, we are not liked. All right. Bitcoiners with Bitcoin in self-custody, we're not liked. We're not a huge, people are not a big fan of ours. But like fundamentally, you got to ask yourself this, like, why are we not liked? What are we doing wrong?
I mean, Bitcoiners are pretty unbearable at times.
No,
no, I'm trolling.
Other than Bitcoiners being,
I'm trolling, dude.
Other than Bitcoiners being, you know, Bitcoiners, right? Like, what is fundamentally wrong with having Bitcoin and having it in self-custody and then getting like wealthier over time because your money isn't being debased or manipulated or controlled? Like, what is wrong with that? I haven't found a good argument for it. You know, now that this is the head of the European Central Bank is a convicted felon. like you can't make this up.
Dude, she's a babe though with nice scarves.
You can't make this up even if you tried. That isn't my opinion. Look up Christine Lagarde, look up her legal case. And then simultaneously, right, her and then some other bankers across the pond are calling us all the names in the book, right? And then a lot of these things that they're saying that we're guilty of, maybe it's like a privilege thing. It's like, hey, listen, we were the only ones that were able to do that, bro. All right, listen, we were the ones that were able to do that, not you guys. We were able to do that. I don't know, man, but to kind of add to Saylor's point, you wouldn't 10x your money from here, not financial advice, if Bitcoin was not hated. If Bitcoin were mainstream at this point, the opportunity wouldn't be there. If Bitcoin was fully embraced by these institutions, which I think this year we thought we were in the door. That's the problem. Like we thought we were in the club, right? And the thing is, we got in the club. Like we managed to get a seat at the table for sure, 100%. The problem is that everybody at the table was looking at us like, who the F is this guy and who the hell let him in? And let's scheme and figure out how to get this guy kicked off the table, right? That's what happened. Like we managed to get on the table and, you know, through the democratic process, you're like, okay, that's how you influence things. That's how you make changes. Great, fantastic, fabulous. Bro, we won. We got Ross Ulbricht free. But then we're like, oh, wow. Wait a second. This is going to take a lot longer than we thought. And this is going to be a lot messier than we thought. And these people don't play by the same rules as the rest of us play by. Which is wildly absurd. Yeah. This is crazy. This is nuts. You know, Andreas, back in the day, he had a very famous video. I really recommend watching it. And he essentially called like the global banking system this giant cartel, right? This is cartel-like behavior. I don't know how else to put it. Like, I don't know how to put that nicely. Like, I don't know how to say that in another way. I don't know how to tell you, like, okay, Nico, you know what? Oopsie daisy, they didn't know. Because when they found that JP Morgan, look, there was this other one. There's this other one. I have to, like, cargo ship seized by JP Morgan Chase, cargo ship owned by JP Morgan Chase seized by US with 20 tons of cocaine. You couldn't make it up if you tried. I don't know. I'm done. I'm done. I can't. This is just too crazy, bro.
Jamie likes to party. Let's go. Hold on. First and foremost, Nico, I will not allow this slander of the wonderful and beautiful Christine Lagarde on this show. No, I'm trolling. You asked a question earlier, and it was like, why are Bitcoiners not liked? And I know they were rhetorical, but it just to make it very plain for people is because one, as we said a minute ago. Again, I always reference this. It's like literally the first thing written in the white paper is like the creation of a digital currency without the middlemen, essentially taking them out of their positions of power. And so all the attacks on Bitcoin can be boiled down to one thing. Again, Nico got me into politics. Nico loves politics, as you guys know. And I always try to boil things down for like me explaining to my parents. And when you think about politics in the kind of the framing of it's all about power, then you understand what everything downstream of it really is. And it's all about control. And the fact that they can't control Bitcoin, the fact that they basically, you know, in their opinions have the inmates running the asylum now because we are outside of their control, it totally freaks them out. And this is why they constantly FUD Bitcoin. This is probably why, if these reports come out to be 100% true and not just mere speculation, why they're trying to suppress the price and keep it down and basically stop the true believers from doing what we set out to do. And they did a pretty good job at distracting us throughout the whole year with Bitcoin treasury companies, with all the Wall Street products coming out, the ETFs, etc. But now towards the end of the year, you're starting to feel the hardcore Bitcoin ethos emerge again.
It's coming back, baby. I feel the life. This is like what this show was all about. Like, this is like literally why, you know, we founded Simply. Like, this is literally why we created Simply, to talk about moments like these, man. And like,
and we're slaves to the news cycle. So it's been a rough year a little bit.
Yeah, dude. Like, oh man. And we're like, yo, Bitcoin's boring and Bitcoin's this. And it's like, yeah, you know, the volatilities hasn't been that great. And, you know, it has been like kind of a lot of like cheering and whatever. But, you know, it's crazy because we weren't in the room before. Now we're in the room. But just because, like, I was tweeting out like, hey guys, we won. It's just a waiting game now. We haven't won yet. We have not won. This is gonna be a, you know, this is gonna be a battle. This is gonna be guys, this is the core like source of power. Like the ability to control and issue money is like the root of power. Like, think about it, right? And if you think that they're just going to go and say, you know what, guys, you found better money. This is sound money. You guys are good. That is naive. That is naive. And it was naive of us to even think that, right? Like, look at what they did with Elon and Doge.
Yeah, you were being very naive.
Look at what they did with Elon and Doge. Like, they that didn't work out. Like, they got that. It like, you guys have to understand like how much money is involved here, how much power is involved here, and it just wasn't involved. So I'm glad that this came out because it really highlights the fact that we're here on a mission. And I think this year we might have forgotten that a little bit. You know, with the financialization and the addition of Wall Street in Bitcoin. But remember the core mission. Remember why Bitcoin was invented. Remember why Satoshi created Bitcoin. And if you remember that, you know, you're good. But anyways, guys, we are running a little bit late. I guess we'll have a long show today.
Monday show.
We're going to hit the news segment. We're going to be right back just a bit.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 5-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledn.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones, they don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, BitKey. If you already self-custody your Bitcoin, you know the deal with hardware wallets by now. Complex setups, clumsy interfaces, and a seed phrase that can be lost, stolen, or forgotten. BitKey fixes that. BitKey is a multi-sig hardware wallet built by the team behind Square and Cash App. It packs a cryptographic recovery system and built-in inheritance feature into an intuitive, easy-to-use wallet with no seed phrase to sweat over. It's simple, secure, self-custody without the stress. Time named BitKey one of the best inventions of 2024. Get 20% off at bitkey.world. That's BITKEY.world with the code SIMPLY. All right, everybody, check out the BitKey right here. It's made in the great US of A. It's made by our friends over at Square and Block and Cash App. It's the same makers. Again, you want to take self-custody of your Bitcoin, has multi-sig built in. All you got to do is you put your fingerprint, you tap it with your phone, bada bing, bada boom, you're ready to spend your Bitcoin. You want to take self-custody of your Bitcoin. You don't, clearly, I think we've established that by now. I don't want to, repeat myself because I think we went in deep with why self-custody is important. But anyways, just to kind of zoom in a little bit, guys, zoom out a little bit. Trump has paid a very heavy price individually over the last, decade that he's been in politics. We didn't speak vocally about him until, really Operation Choke Point 2.0 started. And we were just like, Opti and I, like, seriously, we had a discussion. We talked about it, but the lawfare, the assassination attempts, the fact that he was like one of the only presidents who, when he left from office, his net worth was actually lower than it was before he joined office. And now that he's so heavily involved in our sector, in our industry, right? And now that we've basically found out that JP Morgan and the Fed have been essentially, doing some things that potentially could have impact on the price. When I read these types of articles, it doesn't surprise me, right? So I'll leave it with that context. But here's a Bloomberg article. It says, crypto crash erodes wealth for Trump family and followers. In President Donald Trump's second term, crypto assets transformed his family's wealth. Now the Trumps, their followers, are getting a crash course in the wild volatility ingrained in digital assets. The value of a Trump-branded meme coin has fallen by about a quarter since August. Eric Trump's stake in a Bitcoin mining venture has shed roughly half its value from its peak, and shares of Trump's social media company, which started hoarding Bitcoin this year, are hovering near all-time low. The sell-off is part of a broader rout that wiped out more than $1 trillion of value across the digital asset world. The Trump's family fortune has fallen to about 6.7 billion from 7.7 billion. I think my portfolio's movements go down, but like, damn. In early September, according
It's
to
a few billies between friends,
right? Those holdings involve intricate deals that go beyond straight bets on the value of digital currencies. Everyday investors who have more ways than ever before to invest in Trump-linked projects stand to feel greater pain. Any speculator who bought Trump's meme coin at its peak after it was announced inauguration weekend, for instance, would have lost almost the entire value of their investment by this month. Eric Trump, the president's second-born son, said he remains undaunted, and he had repeatedly urged investors to double down, even in crypto market downturns. What a great buying opportunity, he said. People who buy the dips and embrace volatility will be the ultimate winners. I have never been more bullish on the future of cryptocurrency and the modernization of the financial system. What if the financial system doesn't want to be modernized? Anyways, it's true that since it was created in 2009, Bitcoin has endured multiple steep plunges before, only to climb higher and higher with time. But the Trumps have a buffer built into their crypto holdings. While they own tokens and shares of crypto-linked companies that are tanking, they earn money in other ways from their involvement in the industry. Take the crypto platform they founded, World Liberty Financial. The Trump family has seen their holdings of the affluent token decline in paper value, but they're still entitled to a portion of proceeds from selling the token. Retail investors can only speculate. The Trumps can not only speculate, but they create tokens, sell them, and make money off those transactions. Bitcoin traded above 86,000 on Monday, recovering from Friday's drop to just about 80,500. So again, and it just talks about, basically all the volatility that a lot of Trump's, Bitcoin and crypto companies have gone through and how it's actually affected his wealth. And what's really interesting about this, if you connect the dots, is President Trump is paying the price of tuition. Like everyone pays the price of tuition. Like Nayib Bukele paid the price of tuition. Like Michael Saylor paid the price of tuition. The price of tuition spares no one. But what's really interesting to me now, though, is the headwinds that he's experiencing himself internally. Because now, like, even though we've reached the top halls of power, and I will be the first one to say that Trump isn't perfect. I'm not a big fan of the meme coin as a Bitcoiner, obviously. But even reaching the top halls of power, the fact that Operation Choke Point 2.0 still exists, tells me that that's not enough. Like this is a deep rooted institutional thing. And I saw, one of I would say one of the most populist leaders for the right and the left. She actually she had a resignation announcement last week out of nowhere. And I read her letter, and basically she was making the case that, look, like the grift is this: there's a revolving door. They keep you divided, and they make money off you being divided. That's the grift, right? So it doesn't matter whether it's team blue or team red that gets in there. Nothing really changes. It's just like this kind of revolving door. Now, it's not to say that politics aren't important. Trump getting elected was a primary reason as to why Ross Ulbricht was freed. So you can't completely make the case that politics don't matter. They clearly do. But, this is it's interesting. It's interesting that the president is paying price of tuition too. Even though I might not completely agree with his business dealings. There's a lot of people in the chat, Opti. I don't know if you want to address this because you're clearly more on you're clearly more, you clearly have your
I'm more tapped in.
You're more tapped in to the cultural zeitgeist than I am.
Well, I don't know where you're going with that one, but I do want to mention a few things. The first one is I've been telling you guys that this type of you can't even call it journalism, but like propaganda was on the horizon. That whether you like Trump or not, it's becoming very clear that the big kind of publications, the big media wings, they really don't like Bitcoin, and they are kind of using the, you know, oh, Trump's in Bitcoin, therefore you should stay away from Bitcoin. Look how bad he is. You know, he's a con man. Look at all these scams, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it really does make me think that, you know, if the Republicans don't figure it out by, you know, very soon, because the midterms are coming up, like there could be a huge backlash from the Democrats in the Bitcoin / crypto industry. And that's not too far in the future. Like that's right around the corner. And so I've been telling you guys this, I've been seeing this happen very slowly, but surely, and just kind of reading between the lines and reading between the headlines and kind of their narrative takes on this. They are essentially kind of pinholing Bitcoin, and it could potentially, like, it could put us all in the crosshairs essentially in the future. Now, the second thing I want to mention, we might have to clear this up a little bit of where Nico is going with this, but the second thing that really kind of jumped out to me, Nico, was that article sounded very close to what Saylor went through, where he was getting attacked in the media for the Bitcoin play a few years ago. And look at Saylor now. Like, yeah, you know, the stock's kind of in trouble. Yeah, JP Morgan's kind of attacking strategy. But Saylor's probably never seemed this comfortable or like this giddy about where he is right now. I think he is kind of parrying all of these attacks. And I think in time, the Trump administration will most likely, even though all of its faults, if they do really double down, commit, and follow through on all this Bitcoin stuff, it will fundamentally be like that defining era that does change things in America because of them embracing Bitcoin, the monetary regime that we're seeing happening right now. And I've been very critical of Trump. I think he's hilarious, dude, but there's still things that I want to see more happen. Like, I love the, you know, the kind of the edits around him versus what he's actually doing, because like he in my opinion needs to go a little harder, not just for the Bitcoin stuff, but like it's the Bitcoin stuff that matters to me the most, because I am a Bitcoiner. And look, I'm an American. I want to see American prosperity. Like I'm all for that stuff. So I don't know where we're going with that last part.
Let's continue that conversation, because I think it's worthy of the culture. Guys, we're going to be right back in just a bit.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technology. Why HIVE in 2025? Unstoppable growth. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's position to quadruple their global footprint, making them one of the world's fastest growing miners in 2025. And with elite operations that consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, HIVE's now headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable Bitcoin mining. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at hivedigitaltech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, bitcoinben.io. If you're into freedom, Bitcoin, and building a real community, this is for you. Gain exclusive access to real-world, members-only, private clubs across the globe, featuring poker nights, expert-led classes, co-working spaces, educational meetups, live events, and more. Current locations include Sarasota, Nashville, Boston, Dallas, Las Vegas, and St. Louis, with new clubs launching soon in West Palm Beach, Scottsdale, Alabama, and beyond. Not to mention Bitcoin Ben's resorts in El Salvador. There's 3 of them, and they're absolutely beautiful. You'll also get access to the first fully backed Bitcoin bank with fiat ramps and savings accounts. It's called Private Key Bank, and you guessed it, it's based out of El Salvador. Go peer-to-peer with Bitcoin bulk buys, tap into home equity for long-term Bitcoin growth, and join their exclusive mining pools if you're interested in mining. What are you waiting for? Head over to bitcoinben.io, join today, where Bitcoin meets freedom.
All right, so just to kind of continue that conversation. So I would say this, dude, like, you know, I think that as long as a country has a central bank, it is not accountable to its people. I think that as long as a country has a central bank, there is going to be a massive centralization of power, and it creates a new aristocracy, even though it might not be like the historical aristocracy that you're picturing in your mind, but it creates this like new this new elite class, right? These new the continuing class, which function very much like the aristocracy of old, even though, you know, it has new branding. And, you know, they hide behind, you know, this moral virtue, like, oh, we should use less energy, you know, let's make the world a better place if people use less energy. Meanwhile, they're taking their private jet fleets to Davos, right? So like, I think what you're witnessing right now is people are experiencing, they know something's wrong with the system. They feel the wealth inequality. They don't feel like their vote actually makes a difference. If you want to know why Mandami won in New York, like, his messaging was on point, right? I know everyone can't afford anything. I'm here to fix that. Now, I don't agree with his method. We've tried that method many times throughout history. It doesn't work. I think that the only way to really fix this concentration of wealth and power at the top is not through coercive means or wealth redistribution. It's fixing the mechanisms as to why this happened. Now, I see a lot of people in the chat talking about, Nico, you don't understand Trump, and he's part of it, and, you know, he's part of the party, the left and the right party, and it's all the uniparty, it's all this and this and that. I completely agree with you. But the thing is, like, to an extent, but the thing is, we wouldn't be here today. The Overton window would not be here today if it wasn't for the Trump revolution and Trump going down the escalator. He shook up the political establishment so much that it exposed things. So I'm not thinking about, okay, you know, Trump 2028. I'm thinking about what comes after Trump. And I think that's a very important question, right? What comes after Trump to make sure that this movement keeps going, right? Because I do see, and Opti, you see where I'm going with this. There is going to be a convergence in terms of this populist movement that's rising, right? And populism gets a bad name, but it's I don't see anything inherently wrong with populism. Populism basically just means putting the people first, right? Not putting the elites, not putting special people in charge or anything like that. It just means putting the majority first, right? And what Bitcoin fundamentally is, it's the people's money. It's the people's money. That no one has any special privileges. The 21 million cap protects you. It protects the lower and middle classes the most, because they're the ones that disproportionately get affected the most by currency debasement. So, you know, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, who comes up after Trump? Who's going to step up to the plate after Trump? Right. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm a single issue voter, right? So, you know, if I see someone on the left that, you know, is actually concerned about, you know, is concerned about moving the Bitcoin, you know, cause forward, I wouldn't mind having that discussion and having that conversation, or putting our support as a media organization, as literally one of the leading media organizations in Bitcoin only. I wouldn't mind putting my support behind that person. I just don't see it right now, right? That's not to say you don't have Ro Khanna, you don't have, you know, people on the Democratic Party that are pro Bitcoin. I do see that. I'm not blind to that. But as a whole, the Republican Party, as it stands right now, they're running on a very pro Bitcoin platform, right? So as we head into the midterms, we're going to be talking more about this, guys, because I think this news with Jamie Dimon that's coming out, it reignited a fire. It reminded us of why we're here. I think this whole year reminded us of why we're here. This feels like the good old days, man. The good old days. All we were talking about was the separation of money and state. That was like the subject we were talking about. This is literally why we got popular, was that subject, right? So Opti, you are the culture, man. And you see where I'm going with this. What are your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, well, I'll start with what you initially said. What we have seen this year is, and the words that I might use to frame it might not be correct per se. They might be a little too broad or maybe hyperbolic, but it does feel like this year there was some form of like an enlightenment, and that might be like too strong of a word, but it did seem like a lot of people are waking up to many of the things that Bitcoiners have been saying, many of the things that, you know, people that have been canceled on the internet have been saying. It is starting to come up. And even though I do agree with Nico a lot, and you guys see us bicker on the show in terms of politics, you know me, I've been saying it on the show forever. Like, I think politics in general, left, right, it's two wings of the same bird. Like, if we get one good example, and not to really like illuminate this as like the shining example, but if you guys didn't read the Marjorie Taylor Greene resignation letter, like, I think there is kind of some maybe hidden motivations for this letter, etc. But if you read that, it sounds exactly like a lot of the stuff that you probably have believed for a long time, or people have called it conspiracy theories. But now it's coming out from someone that was in these official powers. And so like it holds a little more weight than just Nico and I ranting on YouTube. Now, the next thing that Nico said that I find very interesting is he was calling it the elites. I think what a lot of people have woken up to this year in particular is that there is an oligarchy in the United States and in most worlds right now. Max Kaiser's been on this for a long time. He's like, we're not in capitalism. You could call it a crony capitalist system. You could call it a corporatocracy. But he's like, I think the best way to frame this is an oligarchy, that we're being ruled by an oligarch, you know, or a group of oligarchs, and everything that they're doing is to benefit themselves. And we've definitely gotten away from, you know, a government by the people for the people. And this isn't just in the US. The reason we talk about this so much for us is, one, obviously we are Americans, we're in the US. But further, what happens in America usually ripples everywhere else. And then on top of that, the US is the financial superpower of the world. You know, for better or worse, the US is the world reserve currency. So everything is downstream from what we do here in the US. And we do get a little pushback from you guys. It's like, you know, why do you guys talk about the US so much? You know, I'm from wherever, you know, you guys check in from all over the world, which blows our minds all the time. But what we are seeing is there is a like reordering happening right now, a monetary reordering, a new political kind of perspective, point of view. And again, what Nico said was, I think, hit the nail on the head. Whether you like Trump or not, he had fundamentally shifted how politics works. He's been in the game for 10 years and it's now an end of an era. And so like moving on from here is going to be, I think, a very defining fork in the road. What's going to happen after Trump can't be in the House anymore, in the White House anymore? Like, who's going to pick up that mantle? Can they maintain the same kind of energy that he has? Will they, you know, will Trump essentially be a stepping stone to something that will actually change how things are handled? These are all the questions that I think, you know, are going to be answered. They have to be acknowledged because that's where we are right now. Things are fundamentally shifting because people are waking up to this, and it's no longer just, you know, tinfoil hat conversations on the dark parts of the internet of what's going on. It's like your aunts, your uncles, your moms, your grandmas are all having these conversations. And for a long time, you know, Thanksgiving's right around the corner for us. For a long time, I'd be at my dinner table ranting about stuff, and everyone in my family would be like, yo, you have lost the plot. Like, you are off your rocker. You are absolutely insane. And now they're like, okay, maybe he was kind of right.
I literally, dude, this Thanksgiving, right? You have just show your family this episode. We have all the receipts, dude. All right. That we have all the receipts, right? They were literally blaming us this entire time for what they were doing the entire time, right? Which was, we knew this, but we didn't have confirmation. And now we have confirmation, which is hilarious in so many ways, but at the same time, not hilarious, because it's like, oh man, like, if this is the case, like, we have such an uphill battle left, that it's not just Trump. It's not just, one person and okay, then we win and it's over, it's done. This is going to take time, dude. It's going to take time. It's going to take energy. We have to mobilize. We have to get involved. This is a movement, right? And it wasn't as simple as just getting someone in office. Like, this is a movement, right? This is what people have to remember. We are in a movement, and we want to make the world a better place. We want more people to use sound money. And I think that this year we forgot that lesson. But right before the end of the year, we were reminded.
Hey, yo, speak for yourself, fam.
We were reminded as to why we're here and why we do what we do, right? So anyways,
wait, the last thing I do want to say, because I think you hit on something, and I've been seeing this trend kind of pop up as well. Like this idea, and I know Bitcoiners push back on this all the time, and I see you guys in the chat say it all the time. Like, you guys give Nico so much shit, but Nico said, I'm a one-issue voter. If a Democrat embraces Bitcoin, then I'm totally willing to kind of, align in the meantime, if like it's in the right direction. And I think one of the things that we've seen this year, if you finally acknowledge that, the two controlling powers, at least in the US, the two groups that are running things, they really have forgotten about us, the people. And there is going to have to be a point where there's like reaching across the aisle. And this is what we've been saying for a long time. Like, Bitcoin is for anyone. Anyone can use Bitcoin. It's not about your political ideology. As long as you want to use a money that doesn't steal from you, I think there is room for everyone to kind of like, maybe there's going to be some compromises. Maybe there's like, all right, look, I don't agree with everything, but if you agree with me on the fact that, look, we're all getting poorer, we're all having a hard time surviving. If you can fundamentally see that we need a better money, that you need savings, that there's something fundamentally broken, not in just the financial economic terms, but in the political system as well, and you're willing to kind of, reach across the aisle and be like, yo, what's good? Let's at least have a conversation, versus everyone being in their, in their camps with their heels dug in. Like, Nico, I'm going to have to give you some credit for that, because I've fought you. We've done it on air. We've done it off air. And I think that is, someone earlier asked, is like, okay, besides just like buying Bitcoin and putting it into self-custody, like what can we actually do? And I think one of the things that Bitcoiners don't really like to say, or what they don't want to do, is like, it does seem that a lot of us need to get involved more, whether it's locally, politically. Like, we need more Bitcoiners in all of these positions of power. This is how we actually change things moving forward. A lot of us are young, like we're in our 30s. Obviously, personally, I don't think I'm a political entity. I don't think I'm the man for the job, but one of you guys might be. And I'm not saying everyone out there needs to be that person, but one of you might be. Some of you might be those people. Some of you might have the skills, the social skills, the personal wealth to do this. And I know a lot of Bitcoiners don't like to talk about that because they've just lost faith in the political system. Like me, me and Nico fought about this at the beginning of the year. I'm like, bro, I got into Bitcoin because I was apolitical. Or like Kason said, I was politically homeless forever. and then we start getting embraced, and maybe you kind of lose perspective for a little bit. But I do think it's upon every single one of us to figure out ways to get involved. Obviously, I think our job here is being as authentic as we can. You know, as I say, propagandists for this movement here, talking heads, taking the shots here, and, you know, being kind of the face for it for you guys. And you know me, I hang out in the chat and I listen to you guys. You know, we're having a conversation every single day. So like we are essentially having a back and forth conversation, even though Nico and I are just like ranting into the ether. But like this is a growing consciousness that we are all kind of morphing in real time. And I think it's beneficial for all of us if we I don't want to say open-minded because that has a bad rap, but I'm going to just end it with like, okay, Nico, I think I hear you. And, you know, Nico's gotten a lot of shit this year, but it's becoming very clear, like, at least for us, you know, if you love your country and you want to see it do better, then it might not be the best idea to just completely close someone. At the very least, have a conversation with someone. And Nico's been saying that all year, so I'm gonna have to give Nico some props. And usually I'm trolling Nico and I'm giving him shit, but let's go. All right. Enough glazing. I think we should wrap up today's show.
All right, everybody, if you guys enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Appreciate the compliment from Optimus Fields.
Yeah, I don't do it often, so it lands when I do it.
But yeah, guys, this is an uphill battle. We won the battle, but you know, there's still so much more to go. And I think that these revelations and what got exposed, I think was, you know, a big realization by the community of what's at stake. And in terms of, you know, there's a two-tier system. It's just the reality of it. And there's this synergistic alliance between politicians and bankers, and, you know, Bitcoin disintermediates that. And don't let them call you a criminal or a villain because you want to take personal responsibility over your money. And you want to choose which money you want to use. Like, you know, this isn't North Korea, right? Or at least I don't think it is. Anyways, I love you all. We appreciate you all. Thank you guys so much for making the Monday show slap. Smash the like button, consider subscribing, share the show with your friends. And we're going to be dropping much more content throughout the week. See you guys on the next one. Take care, everybody.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.